Dr. John Brazier from Core Therapy. We've been talking about the structure and how important the structure is to the bottom to have proper alignment and balance of the structure to allow everything to flow and work as it's designed to. We're looking at this little fella here today. This is the cranial system, and it's one of the most fascinating modern parts of science is understanding how this thing affects the rest of the body. In core therapy, we do a number of tests that relate directly to this, and we can prove when there's a suture problem, i.e. the connection between the bones, or when there's an actual bone misalignment problem. And some of these bones and some of these connections have direct interconnection with the power of your functional movement. So, for example, when we test the power in your leg and your arm on the side of the body, right side and left side, if there's a weakness in both sides, we can put your finger in the mouth and that weakness will disappear instantaneously. And this tells us that this yellow bone here, the sphenoid bone, has a direct impact on the power of the ligaments in the pelvis. And that's fascinating for everyone with back pain. Is probably the faults coming from a misposition or malposition of the bones in the head. And we can test it, and we can actually mobilize it, and we can fix it, and then we can retest, because your body, when your body is in balance, it will be at maximum power. So we can test what the weakness we find in the function, we can test in here. Also, we know, and it's provable, that the jaw is very, very important when we have contralateral movement, that's left arm, right leg. And when we have a weakness there on both sides, we know there's a TMJ problem in the system. So we get the client to touch the TMJ, and as soon as you touch the fault, the power in the arm and the leg will instantly go to 100%. So we can see clearly what we're dealing with. There's other influences. So what we've got here is we've got hormones, we've got blood flow, we've got lymph flow, we've got blood getting to the eyes, blood getting to the ears. How well your eyes work on a day-to-day basis can change dependent on the position of these bones. We also know, and we can test for, a parietal sagittal suture problem will influence your quadricep muscles and how strong your quadricep muscles are. And if they're both weak, then we touch this point and they will instantly both go really, really strong. So when we're looking at this system, we're looking at positions, and we can test all the positions by taking a strong indicator muscle, and people just touch them and there's a change in the body. So when there's a change, we know there's an influence from the bone. So it's really, really important that you understand how intricate this is, but also how simple it is to test. We don't have the science yet to understand how it works, but we can see the physical change immediately. An example I can give you is a all-black rugby player that couldn't hold his left arm and left leg up, or his right arm, right leg up, very, very weak as part of his symptoms. He also had lots of back pain, he also had lots of kidney imbalance and urinary problems. And when he touched inside his mouth, his power went from nothing to 100%, and all he could do was laugh for the next 5 minutes because he couldn't understand how the body could change in such a great degree instantaneously. So it's important to understand this area, and it's important that we test this area no matter what the problem is, because it affects the brain, it affects the spinal cord, it affects the flows, it affects the personality of the person. So we have to get it balanced. So it's important that this structure is correct.